That'll be on YouTube.
If we could hang for like 2 minutes, my wife, time is.
What's that?
Time is that clock right? Oh, it's 4:30.
Yeah, yours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can edit some of this stuff out, but
I get outside the camera frame.
we're going to go ahead and get started to make sure we stay on time. And first of all, we want to thank you for being here. 4:30 is kind of a stretch on a Sunday afternoon because we're used to our naps and whatnot, right? But anyway, thank you for being here. This was a event that was a collaboration. I have forgotten exactly the right number, but there was about 8 or 9 families that helped us individually, and there was about a dozen congregations that helped us as far as financial support. And so there was a lot of work that went into this. There was a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of things that took place before any of this happened, and some of you were part of that. So please know that we're eternally grateful for that. It took a lot of effort to get us there. We ended up raising, I think, a little over $8,000 to help us get there and have the amenities that we needed for travel and for food. There was a lot of travel, and when you travel, you have to stop and eat, don't you? And stop and use the restroom. When you stop and use the restroom, you got to get a bag of Fritos, and. So anyway, there was a lot of things involved in this, and so I just wanted to, before we said anything, just say thanks.
Yeah, and I know Chip organized all of that and did all of that work, but we also had some help a little bit additionally to that, and I know when we left, we had enough money, but when we got there, we didn't.
Yeah.
We were glad we had a little extra because you run into incidentals traveling in foreign countries. There's expenses like you have to have a little extra if you need a restroom or something like that. So
yeah, at one place we went, they said it'll be $1 to use the bathroom
when we were traveling. Yeah, one place I needed a restroom pretty badly one day, and we were on our way to Wari, and I think we were on our way. We had to stop and exchange our money anyway. I go to the restroom, and there's a lady sitting at a desk, and I start to walk up, and I was like, Baños, it's Spanish for bathroom, and she's like, one soul. It's like, well, I already gave mine away, but anyway, so sorry, I had to borrow a soul from somebody so I could, use the restroom, and that's one of those little things you learn along the way. So we were glad to have enough, and we appreciated it very much. Yeah.
So. We had the opportunity to go to this remote area, and this is one of our proudest moments, and this will come up a few more times during the video, but this is actually up in Wari. And so I don't know how many of you are familiar with Peru, how many of you have been to Peru, traveled abroad, etc., but what we've got is a Latin American nation that's made up of about 25 different states. They refer to them as departments. I called them provinces and was corrected, so I guess department is what we're going to go with. So the one area where we flew into, obviously, was here in Lima, and that's where the airport was, and the house where we stayed, the host family, the preacher there in Monte Carlo, he only lives about 10 to 12 minutes away, which is about 30 minutes in one of their cars because there's so much traffic, it's ridiculous. But while we were there, we had the opportunity to travel up into the Ancash department or Ancash state, and this is the journey that we're going to tell you about while we're up here. But that gives you a location where we are. It's kind of like if I was driving from here to Nashville, Tennessee. That's about the period of time and the mileage, as it were. The mileage may be a little bit different, but that's the area where we went. And the one thing I wanted to point out on this map, and I was talking to Brandon earlier, here we can drive 11 minutes and we're at another Church of Christ. We have the Bible Bowls where there are 9 or 10 congregations that come on a Monday night. We go to gospel meetings over in Atlanta or over in Grayston or something, and there's a dozen congregations that are there, right? There's nothing. There's no fellowship. There's no other church. They don't have the same luxury that we do. It's similar, but not quite, like the Revelation letters, chapters 2 and 3.
Right.
The churches of Asia, they were spread out, right?
And you're speaking of Wari,
Yeah, Wari is a long way from anything.
which is where does this thing work? Which
Yeah.
is in here, right?
Yeah, it's right up in the
there,
middle.
right
Up in the middle.
Lima, to put it in perspective, it's my understanding from talking to some of the people who live there, our hosts, there's some more congregations in Lima, but there's not that many. So they have a few, have a
And
little
they may
more
not be
access.
sound.
Yeah, we don't know anything about them. And to put Lima in perspective, just the area, which I think we were like about right here in Lima, they have, it's kind of like Dallas, if you send me to Dallas, you say, where'd you go? I went to Dallas. But there's North Richland Hills, there's all these little, Lima's the same way. And just in the area where we were at, that county, if you will, I don't know what else to call it, there was nearly 1 million people, like 800,000 people just in that. Lima has about 10 million people. Just Lima, that's not counting the other ones around it. And by like another 10 years, they'll be at a little over 12 million. So it's there's like 7,000 people per square mile. I think that's right, something like that. It's a lot of people. So
and you'll get the force of that as you see some of these photographs. Yeah. But to this point, as far as the closest congregations, we had the opportunity to find out that up here in San Martin, another state, this is what they refer to commonly as the jungle. And so up here in the jungle, the Amazon, as it were, this is a little congregation of people, about 8 people, that was established in 2023. And so the closest congregation is hours and hours and hours. So no preacher's luncheons on Thursday afternoon. No, none of that stuff that we kind of take for granted. And so it's a completely different thing to get used to and to understand, because what we think is commonplace, it completely changes. It's flipped on its head over there, in every way.
And I don't think in the past few years, maybe since COVID, I'm not sure they've been up that far.
Yeah, it's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years. They know that there's been a little bit of growth there. So I think they're kind of in need of some things there. Even if it is just to show up and say, hey, we know you're here. We know you exist, just like it was, as you'll see in Wari. So.
Yeah. So we arrived on day one. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. And we arrived into an international airport. It was a big airport. I mean, it's like unto some of the places like you see in Dallas. So it was a great big airport. We were on a big, gigantic, I don't know what the number of the plane was. Paul might be able to tell us. He's in the planes. But it's got the 3 sections. It's got the seats in the middle and then 2 rows on either side. And it seats about 300 people. I mean, it was a gigantic plane. Very comfortable. The TV screens, you could watch live television, you could watch movies, you could listen to albums of music. And this was the Latin America plane, and they fed us on the way over. We had a fantastic, so it's midnight, and so we're eating at 1:30 in the morning. And I told the little lady sitting next to me, she didn't get to sit with her husband. He was catty-cornered, and so we just bantered a little bit. And she would say occasionally when something would happen, she'd say, "It's an adventure." And so I looked at her at one point when we were eating, and I said, it's probably been 20 years since I ate anything at 1 a.m. And she said, "It's an adventure." So everything about the whole trip was just phenomenal. We landed in Lima here, and this is like loading cattle onto a trailer. This is immigration and customs. You got to go through all these little posts up here, the 2021, 22, 23. Those are the immigration ports that you kind of file into and show your passports. And so we're fumbling at the last minute. Hey, we got to have an address. We got to tell them where we're going. Where are we going? I don't know. And so Kadia's up there Googling the church, trying to get an address. And so we're like taking pictures of the Google thing so that we'll have it when we get up there. I mean, it was kind of mayhem.
Each one have to go to the point of entry, and they kind of interview you and Gestapo style, and make sure you're not going to terrorize the country. So it was all I could think of. I told Chip when we got there. Of course, it's a huge, massive, building room, but they've got it cordoned off in lanes, and so you just pass
like
each
Six
other.
Flags.
It's like and it just gets constantly moving. And when I got up there, I kept my passport in my back pocket all the time, and I was constantly filling my glutamus, making sure that I had my passport with me. I was just terrified I was going to drop it or something because I've never left anything anywhere like on top of the gas pump or anything. Yeah. So anyway, all I could think, I thought about Matthew 7, not everyone that saith to me, Lord, Lord. I thought, man, what it would be like to get up there and not be able to get in because I didn't have the passport. But anyway, that was it was funny, the little things you think about when you're traveling like that. That was an experience. And you would think once you got all your stuff, and when you get on the plane to Dallas, you have to go through all that, but you still have to go through it when you get there, and it's the same both ways. So that was an experience.
Yeah, that was an experience. So we enter into Peru. This is one of the little TVs that we were standing next to. It says, "Welcome to Peru." I had to get that shot. We got over the individual. This is Helmut Garcia. He's the one that he's the preacher there in Monte Carlo, and he was the host for us. His father, Juan Garcia, established much of this work years ago, and he is actually now working over in Alabama doing a Spanish work there. And he flew home just for this occasion. I'm sure that the congregation paid for his trip and all that, but I'm still saying he took out of his time to come over here and lead us around the country and show us the great work that's over there. And then this is his daughter, Laura. And so this is their home. It's a 4-story home, and this is the entrance to the home. It's all gated up with rebar and steel, and they say if you leave the door open even for a minute, you might be robbed. And so anytime the door opened, they said, "Hey, shut that door, shut that door."
Yeah, they won't let you leave the door open for even a second. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the car that y'all were made sure that we were able. We got it's a 7-door Santa Fe Hyundai, or 7-person rather, and we were supposed to have a minivan. And we got a message just prior to getting there saying, "Well, we're sorry to tell you, but your van was in an accident, but we do have this car." And we were like,
turns out the lady on the plane was right. That turned into an adventure.
It was an adventure.
It was an adventure.
So, I mean, what do? You take the car, right? So, anyway, Raphael took care of all the driving for us, thank goodness. I would have probably been in jail. And we come into the home, and the first thing they do is get busy in serving us breakfast. Man, it was a fantastic breakfast. You can see the tamales, the homemade tamales, eggs. There was avocado. There were strawberries and grapes. And this bread, pan is the word in Spanish. They always say pan, pan, pan. And you're thinking English the whole time. Pan, oh, bread. Yeah, bread. They eat a lot of bread. And the bread it's different. It's kind of like French bread or something, kind of crunchy, hard.
Yeah. Oh, and just FYI, if you ever go over there with us and they say, "Do you want ham?" Oh. They don't mean pork ham. So Chip and I learned
jam.
That. It's jam. We were served ham at one point later, a day or two later, and Chip and I are sitting there eating breakfast together. It's early. We were usually the first ones up. So anyway, we're eating breakfast, and they bring it out. And I'm like, "Well, that's sliced jam. I've never seen sliced jam before." It
was a big round
slab. I took a bite, and I said, "Well, it tastes like bologna." And it turns out it was bologna. So
yeah, we instead of taking a slice off of the stack, we thought
we ruined the whole stack because I cut it.
We cut it. Yeah, we cut it when we were supposed to take anyway.
So they say their J's is a huh. So ham. So anyway.
But this is the spread. Well, go back. Whoa.
Yeah, it was a wonderful breakfast.
Hang on. Yeah. Anyway, I was just showing this particular spread. They put like 3 tables together here for us to sit at. And there was a little lady and her 2 children that came from across town to actually be the cook during the week. Her name was Lupita. And boy, did she put on a spread. I mean, constantly put on a spread. And I put this video, there's a couple of videos that I put in here because Brandon and I talked, and unless you actually see some of these things, it's hard for you to see just in a photograph. So bear with some of these. This is probably about two minutes or something. But this is the neighborhood of Monte Carlo. This is from the 4th story of his little house up here. There is a little bit of sound. I tried to get the sound working, but you may not be able to discern it.
If you notice on top of the houses, you'll see water tanks. And what they do is they pump their city water up there in order to have enough water pressure. So all the houses have these additional tanks here so that they have enough pressure for the house.
Eight stories. They said, when an earthquake comes, that's the first one to go. Yeah, that's what they said.
And all the houses are 7 meters by 22 meters, which is like 21 by 60, somewhere around that. 21
Same
by 60.
size.
They're all the same size. And to reiterate what Chip said, go ahead. The reason we want you to see this is sometimes the pictures will deceive you and you think, oh, it looks kind of like it does here, and it's not. And what Chip's got here, it gives you a better idea of what it's really like. What time of the day did you film this, Chip?
About lunch, I think.
Okay.
So the temperature is, it was about 65 most days. It was chilly in the morning, like maybe 52, 55, something like that, you know, and they were dressed up in down jackets, and they kept calling me Summer Man because I always had a short sleeve shirt on. Remember?
They were scared to death we were going to freeze to death.
Yeah, you'll need a jacket. You need a jacket.
Yeah, it was cool. You know, they just have them very moderate. You know, it's hot in the summer, but it's just a really moderate temperature year round. They don't, and in Lima it doesn't rain, so that's why there's no roof on this. They still need a roof, but mainly for summer months. But so they don't need it for rain; they just need it for the heat.
Now this is still day one. If you notice on the screen, we got a nap. We told them, I said, look, we've been up 36 hours. We need to lay down for a little while. So we both went upstairs and took a little bit of a nap. You know, maybe 3 or 4 hours, maybe tops. You know. And got back up, and they said, okay, so now we got the Bible study and Ladies' Day. We're like, what? Mm-hmm. So Katia, which you met here recently back in April, she was the teacher. As you remember Katia here, she was the teacher of the Ladies' Day. And this particular banner, we'll tell you about that in a minute, but it says Women of the Bible. And it was a 2-day seminar that they did. She taught day number 2, and this is what we call Ladies' Day. You know, and so they had a meal afterwards. And so Brandon and I both, we had the opportunity. They made the men serve them. They said, we want them to feel like queens. And so we served them the meal that they had already prepared. And they had like this hot tea in these plastic cups. I said, man, they're going to melt the plastic cups. But anyway, that's what we gave out. And here, they all have this particular little certificate of completion that they were all there for the 2 days of the event. So that's what they're all holding in their hands in that particular picture. And the ladies there of Monte Carlo, if you'll notice, you can see some of them better than others, but they have a purple shirt on. It's like a Scrubs shirt, and they have the Monte Carlo church insignia on it. And we thought that they're proud.
I asked one of the ladies, I said, what's up with the shirts? And she said, we just wanted to have something that set us apart from, everybody else, and just a sense of camaraderie, so to speak, among the ladies. So
we met this little gentleman. His name is Eduardo. My light's about shot. So Eduardo here, he is training to be a preacher, and he's college age, 21, maybe
he's
something like
early
that.
20s. Yes.
Speaks a little bit of English, and so he was trying very hard to speak to us and show that he had learned some English. Many of the little girls were up here as well, so it's a family event. It's not just ladies and older ladies or whatever; it's the kids too. And so anybody that's a female, that's the way they run their Ladies' Day. And so that was a great event. But before that, we were actually tasked right out of the bed to go and we had to take this scaffolding. Everybody knows what scaffolding is.
If you notice the flyer, that's what we were toting the scaffolding for. Because I asked Helmut, I said, Helmut, what are we doing? He said, we got to go hang the flyer. I was like, okay. So
the flyer.
Excuse me, the banner.
Well,
and so that's why we're toting the scaffolding. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, this is Brandon. Brandon has a camera in his hand. That's his board that he's got on his shoulder. It's like a 2 by 14 or something. It weighs like 700 pounds. And he just threw it up on his shoulder. And they're like, oh, big Texas man, big Texas man.
Well, I'd had bread, so I was good to go.
So, anyway, we had to carry the scaffolding. Well, I didn't. You see, I'm just walking. I didn't do anything at all. But anyway, we had to carry this scaffolding about 3 blocks around the way and then set it up in the auditorium there and then hang the banner and then take the all that stuff down after the night was over and carry it back home. Yeah. So
they were afraid for us to walk by ourselves. So I think after close to time to leave, there was a couple of times where we'd walk back, but they wouldn't let us walk by ourselves. Leaving the doors open, things like that. They were really we never witnessed anything, but of course the crime rate there I think is pretty high. So.
A lot of security.
But they watched out for us. They were very vigilant about that. So.
The church, this is the front of the church. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful doors. And a lot of it all is just handmade, obviously. And it sits on this street. What you see is there's a mechanic shop. And so this is to the left where the silver car is. And they've got oil and filters and all that stuff sitting out there. And then this red truck is just to the right of the front door. When you walk out, that's what you see. And so you're kind of stepping over, as you leave, you're stepping over some oil filters and some stuff like that. But it is what it is. I don't know if I can handle it.
Okay. Sorry.
That's cool. So this is Juan. Juan is leading us down through the way and talking the whole time. He is one of the most energetic, outgoing, evangelistic people that I've ever met. This is the guy that traveled from Alabama. And this is just an example of the street up on top, the way it's painted up. This is the neighborhood where we were walking. So this is day one. Brandon and I both noticed, because we like to mess with wood, these are their pews they sit on. There's no cushion. We like our cushions and we like our pillows. And
they're just 1 by 12 and 3 1x4s. That's what they're made out of. I'm sure they made them.
Yeah, and that's what we hope to do when we go back next time is build some. They've got their own in-house cat that eats anything you drop on the floor in the kitchen. The cat is glad to lick it up. So that was an experience in and of itself. So that was day one. Here we are 20 minutes in, and we're just on day one. So anyway, on day number 2, I get up and I come down. I'm evidently the first person that's awake until I look around the corner, and there's Brandon. He's already studying and journaling, and he's up before the crack of dawn. And one of the concerns that we had, as you see him standing here, he lost one of his bags. One of his bags.
Well, let's be clear. I didn't lose it.
Yeah, the airport lost. Yeah,
I got enough problems. I didn't lose it.
Yeah, and that was the donation of communion trays and things of that nature that we were taking along, plus a few personal items. So he kind of needed that bag, and so in the airport, I was like, "Oh no, we don't know." And so it took a lot of effort, and it's only because of Juan and Raphael that any of that actually got returned.
And Katya, actually, it took all 3
diligence.
of them. It was a mess.
Texting
really.
And WhatsApp,
because nobody speaks English. I mean, so I'm at the mercy of everyone around me. So and
this is before worship. Now, you're trying to
Yeah.
get your head straight before you go into worship. You know, this is all before worship,
Yeah.
trying to get that arranged because it said if they bring the bags to the house, we're going to be down here in worship till 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, let's have them bring it to the building. Okay, good idea. Well, once worship's over, no bag. And so now we're going back home. Well, does somebody need to stay at the building and wait for the bag? I mean, it was mayhem there for a little while.
We had to make arrangements for somebody at the church, and it still didn't show up. So it finally came at the house, but it was a big ordeal.
Yeah, finally got it.
Yeah.
But this, interestingly enough, this is the pulpit, and this is the Lord's table. And it's an open atmosphere. All the windows and doors and everything are open. So maybe they cover this, you know, to keep, you know, the dust down or whatever. Whatever the case, it is absolutely beautiful. You know, the silk and the embroidery. They take a lot of pride, obviously, you know, in their building and the furniture. And again, this is the family that we're introducing you to. And so it's Helmut. From the right, it's Helmut, and then Laura and her 2 daughters. And then the father, Juan, in the fancy red suit. I didn't actually get to see that red suit. That was the week after we left. That was pretty
Yeah,
nice.
this is Maria Laura.
Yep.
This is Bati. This is Damari. And then Juan. I believe I'm saying those right. I probably got one of them off. But
So I did the class. Raphael did the sermon, and then evidently that wasn't sufficient because then Juan got up. And Juan did a few more minutes, and he had 3 responses to the gospel invitation. All 3 of them wanted to be immersed. Now, the one little boy, Brandon and I looked at each other, and we're like, he's a little young, you know, just kind of let it ride. Well, at one point, while they were filling the baptistry, this kid goes running out, crying, and we come to find out that they had to talk with him. And he was just a little too young, and he was all kind of upset.
he was upset.
And then the young lady in the middle, she's about 21, 22 years old, and she was the one actually that was immersed that day. There's an older lady here that was intended to be immersed, but for one reason or another, she had to leave. Now, the reason is because, number one, they had a birthday celebration, they had a fellowship dinner, and it took about 2.5 hours to get this much water in the baptistry. Yeah. And it was freezing cold.
They just have, in their baptistry, it's nice baptistry, but their water pressure, like I said, I know it's just not as good as ours is here, so it takes a while, and there was only one spigot, and so we just had to wait on that to fill up, and it still was
pretty good while.
It was a pretty good while, but it was
but
still wasn't a lot of water.
Every single one of them stayed.
Yeah, everybody stayed, yeah.
This is just some bio information that I got Helmut to send over so you could kind of meet him informally. So this is Helmut. He's 43 years old. He's been a Christian 18 years, and he's been preaching 12 of that. He went to the school down here in Ecuador, and it just so happened that that's, I believe it was, no, not that one. Juan actually studied under Raphael. Raphael was the director of the school. Remember Raphael that was here. So Helmut's 43. Juan is 70. He's been a Christian for 39 years, and just like Paul, right after he became a Christian, he started preaching. And so he went to school and started preaching, has been all over the continent, as it were. His wife's name is Laura. She has passed on. She is no longer with us. His 2 children, Helmut and Laura. And so he currently works over here in Russellville, Alabama. That's where his work is now. And he has already called twice, wanting to know, when can I come see your congregation people? He wants to come meet y'all because of the way we talked about you, etc. So he's looking forward to having the opportunity to come over and meet us. But this was a day that will live in infamy in our minds. This was after the service, we had this incredible meal. This particular piece on top is a Venezuelan dish. One of the ladies there is from Venezuela. She fled as a refugee, as it were. She fled to get away from President Maduro. You might have heard about him on the TV or whatever. But anyway, she's not necessarily pictured here. I think that's her right there. But this is the cat's meow. It's called Inca Cola, and I wish they had it in the United States. It's better than Mountain Dew. It is some kind of good. But they had it at every single meal. It seemed like there was a bottle of Inca Cola. But anyway, had great services. We sang a lot. Here's the baptistry that Brandon was talking about, and this is the young lady that was immersed, and this is Juan having a prayer with her after the immersion. Brandon. Look at him. Brandon's all smiles. He's filming everything. And I mean, it was an incredible thing.
And we had 3 sermons, I think, that morning. 3 lessons.
It kept going. It kept going. Juan is very evangelistic, very excitable. So anyway, day 2 comes to a close. We had a great chicken dinner. Jody, I sent Jody that picture. She said, "Well, I hope they cook that stuff." And so we had a great chicken dinner as we sat around and continued in our fellowship throughout the evening. And then the night closes. You see us, we're starting to pack for the next day. All this stuff that's on the table and then some was in the bag that got lost. And so we have received our bag and we are unpacking it, and we're taking Oak Grove actually donated the communion cups here. And so we were able to take communion cups and brand new trays that were given by Fruitvale and deliver them up there. So we're packing this up to take it up the hill with us in the morning. So day 2 then turns into day number 3, and the first thing you got to do is find the coffee. And so this is me in the kitchen trying to figure out how to work the coffee maker. And Juan is ecstatic, saying, "It's cold. You're going to need something on your head because it's like 60 degrees outside. You're going to freeze to death." And so anyway, this is us packing up in the car. We got 7 people in there, 7 backpacks, and in the back seat, Juan and Helmet, father and son, they sat in that back seat with bags on their hip all day long.
It was suggested that we leave a couple of the bags there, and
It wasn't happening.
That was really the. They've been waiting for a long time to get back up to Wari. In fact, I guess it's okay if I go ahead and mention, but I mean, the reason that the congregation up there exists is because Juan converted one man.
That's right.
And so, you can't fully appreciate the circumstances of carrying 2 bags. If you don't know that, you don't fully appreciate what they did, by sitting in the back of that car and packing this, carrying it on their lap for 14 hours.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So it was,
and so it was like a long family reunion. They hadn't seen these people in 5 years. They got WhatsApp and instant messenger, so they can speak to them and maybe send some pictures back and forth like you and me did. But they hadn't seen them. You should have seen the hugs and the kisses, and Juan was dancing with the kids outside. We'll show you all that in a minute.
Because the only way they can get up there really is that they don't have a vehicle, so
they'd have to take a bus or something.
They have to take a bus, and the bus ride up there is about 10 hours. So
yeah, nonstop, and they fly too. We'll show you a picture of that in a minute too. But as day 3 continues, this is us packed into the van. Here's Brandon. He's sitting behind me, and Laura, and then Katia is right behind Raphael, so that when he makes a move, she can just reach up and poof. So pop him in the head. Slow down. No, don't do it.
There's Hellman and Juan in the back.
Yeah, all the way in the back, holding. And we were sitting down on the bottom of the shocks. We were completely loaded in that little Hyundai, and you felt every little bump because the shocks were completely exhausted. They were all the way down on the axle. I put this in just to show you. They do have road construction over there just like we do. I thought that was kind of interesting. We complain about it, and they
just don't have any road laws. So
yeah, there's no laws whatsoever. I'm surprised they even had cones up. But here's an example of one of the open top trucks. There's 1,000 of those going everywhere. No tarps or nothing, Ben. No nothing. They just flying around, stuff flying off the top and the roads. And so this is a little place. Laura, as a backstory, she's actually a travel consultant.
Kind of like a tourist guide.
Tourist guide.
Basically, yeah.
And so she knew where we were going, where we were stopping. We were like, yes, ma'am. Okay, yes, ma'am. So this is the place that she had us stop, this first little place. She said, it's a very good place to eat. This is a caption of the menu. So what are we eating? I don't know. Just order that thing right there. And this is the place where they were cooking all the pork. It was one of those big open ovens, and the guy was, you could tell he knew what he was doing. He was working that spatula and all those things and rolling them big chunks of meat. But everything's outdoors. Everything's outdoors. And so we ate in this comfortable location, sitting on the side of the road. We had to go next door and get gas. We never did figure out what the gas was, about $2 a gallon or something, or
somewhere around there. It's not, and the gas stations are nothing like they are here. There's no
full service.
Yeah, they're full service. You don't pump your own gas, and you don't go in and buy snacks. I mean,
Yeah.
you can, but it's just not really the most customer-friendly environment. So
It's
you
weird.
just generally don't do that. You just stay at the car when they're done. You get in and go. So
We came into this little city here where, well, good grief, get back over there. We got into this. Come on, man, go back the other way. So we got into this little city here. We had to change our money. Going up to Warrior, we had to have some more money, changing American dollars. And so Laura said, well, this next town, et cetera, is where we can go. So we had to navigate our way in. And they were like, left, no, right, left, right. So this is what we're dealing with. These things are called mosquitoes. They're they're like the old Cushman buggies that you see them writing tickets in New York City.
yeah,
And they're all encased. And they call them mosquitoes because they're always like, zzz, zzz, zzz. They're everywhere. That's why they call them mosquitoes. And we were greeted by Jesus on the way into that particular city. That was kind of interesting. Catholic influence, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the town that we came into, and that's the force of what we're doing here. These people up here in the white shirts, they're the ones that change the money. Now, you can go into the bank and stand there all day if you want to and get maybe a 0.5% different in exchange rate. Or you can just go to these guys, and they got these little fanny packs. And I'm telling you, they got $1 million in every single one of them. I've never seen so much cash in all my life. And they just open it up, and there you go, right there on the street. And so as they started to exchange the money, they all huddled around me. And they said, you need to be careful. And so the people that were there with us, they were protecting me, protecting us.
It's not really a transaction that you take lightly. You get it done pretty quick and get out of there.
Yeah, you're gone.
Especially if you have my skin color.
So it's a different scenario altogether. It just so happened across the street that there was a little ice cream parlor. And so we had to walk across the street, and some of us got a little ice cream. Laura got a little piece of cheesecake, and she's proud of that, obviously. But we kept on going down the road, and these are just visuals that I've got here before you that are pictures that we took alongside the road. We're just traveling, and this is what it looks like. The terrain is all mountainous, right? But along the way, you see these beautiful little sites like this lake that's off to the side. And so it just depends on, when you happen to look up. It's very beautiful. But we stopped at another little place to use the restroom, and they were giving us pieces of fruit and watermelon. And this guy, Juan, he eats as much as he preaches. He eats all the time. I've never seen a 70-year-old man eat as much, inhale as much. He eats like Jacob. And so there's a lot of food that gets inhaled by that little fellow. But we did take a little break there and use the restroom and get on our way. And this is what it looked like. I took a picture from across the street. But anyway, this is part of the 15-hour journey. We look around, couldn't find Raphael. Raphael's our driver.
We're loading up in the car. Everybody's had their snacks, bathroom break, everything. I asked his wife, Cotty. I said, where's Raphael? She said, he's over there eating soup. I was like, what?
He went and got a meal.
He's sitting down there eating. So,
but he does have diabetes, and so he has to eat on a little bit different schedule than the rest of us. But anyway, we continued to travel into the night, and it was late when we got there. It was really late, like maybe 10 or something. 9 or 10, and we were absolutely exhausted. Yeah. Raphael was a basket case, and this is the reason he's a basket case. This is about 2 or 3 minutes of what we dealt with as we were traveling up there.
I really don't know what we would have done if Raphael hadn't been able to drive, because
it was
it was. I don't know that Chip or I, either one, could have done that. We were thankful for that.
I mean, watch the headlights and watch the camera. I mean, these roads are absolutely horrible. They're non-existent.
At this point, we've all been traveling so long, we're trying to maintain our Christianity.
Yeah, it was.
We're ready to get out of the car. It's been a long day.
But you get just a little bit of smooth pavement, and so you gas on it. You're doing 30 miles an hour, and then you got to slam on your brakes again because there's another piece of bad pavement like you see up here. This guy's actually waiting on us. because we've got to go by him. We've got to get over. And we were so far lost, as it were, like, where's this city, that we actually stopped here to ask this fellow, where is Wari? And so that's what he's asking right now.
He tells us it's about 30 minutes up the road. I think that's what he said, wasn't it? So we were
30 minutos.
Yeah. The roads were so bad at one point. Raphael did a great job driving, but he missed one major bump one time, and it threw Juan up into the ceiling and hurt his head pretty bad, actually.
But the last, 4 hours? 4 or 5 hours?
Oh, yeah, 4 or 5
That's
hours.
what it was.
Easily.
I mean, just 5 miles an hour creeping around, trying to miss the holes. I said at one point, it'd be a pretty good place to put a road. They've already got the rocks moved out of the way. It'd be a pretty nice place for a road. But anyway, this goes on for about another 2 minutes or so. But I mean, just constantly bouncing up and down. And this was the end of the road. I mean, this is us getting to our destination finally. But I mean, you can kind of see. I mean, it's just absolutely horrible. The headlights bouncing up and down. Anyway, you kind of get the idea of that. But we stopped along the way because this is right before we got to Wari. Brother Juan, he actually got car sick.
Yeah.
All of
and he had hit his head, so
he had minor concussion or something. It was pretty bad.
He was very nauseated and sick, and yeah.
So we found this little place right here. This is the place, the Alpamanca, and Brandon had a hard time getting through the low threshold there. And so I said, don't bump your head. But anyway, they served him a tea, kind of a medicinal tea, and within about an hour, he was back to his self again, and we were able to travel on, and we got up into Wari. We checked into our hotel room. It's called Hotel Tang. Kind of a strange Spanish name, I guess. But then you can just see an example of the room. This is my room up here on the right, and that's the entrance to it in the hallway. There's nothing special about it. I think it was like $25 American a night, basically, is what it was. And then this is a beautiful painting that they had in the foyer, and that goes into the antiquity of the Peruvian people. Kind of an interesting thing. But then we said, man, can we please eat some food? And so they said, yes, what you want? And it's late. Everybody's closed, right? And so they said, you like chicken? So, yeah, we like chicken. And so they took us about 3 or 4 blocks down the road. And again, here's the Inca Cola. We are happy to see Inca Cola. And we actually did not know how to order. They said, what kind of piece of chicken you want? And so we said, I don't know, a thigh and a leg. Well, evidently it comes with a breast and a wing or something. And I ordered a thigh and a leg, so I got 2 dinners. I didn't know I was ordering 2 dinners. And so anyway, I got 2 garden salads. I got 2 drinks. I got 2 everything.
Well, I do want to say, I know I look really happy eating that food right there, but that was the first meal I'd had all day.
Yeah, so, 15 hours of just Fritos and maybe a
nothing.
Snack or
I hadn't
something.
eaten anything all day.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
But it was a blessed
best
day.
chicken I ever ate.
It was a blessed day. So we were able to get a good night's sleep. We crashed, like zombies, and we had a good night's sleep. And the next morning, I got up, and nobody is awake. The Peruvians move a little slower than we do. I'm a 5:30 guy. I'm up at 5:30, and I have to have my coffee at 5:32. They don't open till 9 anywhere. And so I'm looking for coffee, trying to figure out where coffee is, and I couldn't find any. And I was just about to get a little antsy. Here it is, 8:30 in the morning, and no coffee still. And so Juan gets up, and we walk around, and no coffee, no coffee, no coffee, no coffee. All these people, they keep sending us. And so we finally, this is really a big deal. That picture, you don't know it, but that's really a big deal. We found a good cup of coffee there and enjoyed the daylights out of it.
See how happy Tip is?
Very happy.
Very happy.
Yeah. You didn't see the other pictures. So. But then we went across town to meet up with the rest of the gang. Juan and I had kind of disappeared for a few minutes to get coffee, and they were meeting over at another place, and so we joined them. And the circle I have up here, that's Helmut and Bartolome. Bartolome is the preacher that we are so inclined to try to help.
He's the man that Juan converted.
Yes.
Juan converted him. So.
And this is his buggy. And so I was actually interviewing for a job there in case things didn't work out so well. It's a really neat little buggy. But just a picture of the city outside of where we ate here. Some snapshots as we walked up the street as we left the breakfast and went on toward the viewing of the things we needed to see. Yeah, here's a guy carrying a swimming pool.
Yeah.
That's just what we do, I guess. They don't have a pickup truck to put it in, so carrying has some beautiful juices that we had. This right here, this is a picture of the city of Wari, just right outside of our hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a school. We stopped at this school to take some pictures. All the kids were out for lunch, and they were holding their styrofoam things, and they were having lunch. And here's these American people walking around taking pictures and everything, and they were like, they didn't know what we were doing or why we were there. Are we celebrities? Boy, they're tall. They're so tall.
At this point, we're on our way to see the church building.
Yeah, we are being led. And so we're just kind of following along, and we're snapping pictures and looking at everything. And so as we continue, we did find some police along the way. This is the average city day. Everybody comes down the mountain. They come from all their different dwellings, and they just sit up on the street, and they sell their tennis shoes, or they sell their pots and pans, or they sell their fruit, or whatever. So it's a constant marketplace all around the entire city, everywhere you look.
It's like that in Lima, too. Sometimes you'll see people,
Right.
you would see people that they're just trying to get money to buy dinner, but they just set up everywhere.
This was an example of a home that we walked by that was just sitting on a corner. So it was like a triangle, the way that they had made it. The rebar is sticking up. The rebar is out of every single edifice in the entire country, because what they do is they continue to build up as prosperity hits them. And so the rebar stands up out of any and every building, because at the next opportunity, they're going to lay some more concrete and make another floor. So that was an interesting thing to see. Here's the hospital that's mentioned up here. And hope you're not sick, because it's like 400 feet up those stairs to get to the hospital. For crying out loud, if you're sick, you're going to have to walk all the way up that hill. But anyway, this is just some random pictures we took along the way. These children, they play in the streets here. They run around. They let you take their pictures. Unlike a lot of places in America where we're afraid that some ice cream truck's going to pick them up and send them to Michigan or something.
It was one of the nice things also about being at the congregation there in Lima. There was kids everywhere. They'd come up to you and hug you, and they want to talk to you. And it was a wonderful thing. They'd run around playing everywhere. A lot of kids.
It's great.
It was fun.
It's great. But these are just some random pictures as we are following them, going to our next destination. These are actually a little bit out of order, but I'll go ahead and tell you, Brandon wasn't with us at this particular moment in time, but we were led to, this is Bartolome. This is Bartolome over here, right over here on the corner. And the lady that is standing here, that is pictured here in the red, is his cousin, I believe, if I've got that right, niece perhaps, maybe it's her niece. And she was having some issues with her mind, with her head, and she had been told by the Pentecostal people in town that she was demonically possessed. And so she wanted us to come as Christians and pray for her that the demon would leave. So the conversation that was had ultimately is that, honey, that doesn't happen nowadays. What you need to do is go to the hospital, go to a doctor, because you may very well have a tumor. You may have some other issue, because demonic possessions have stopped. And so not only was it a time to teach and edify, and we prayed with her and for her, they actually asked me to lead that prayer, and I was glad to do so. Raphael was translating, and she seemed very grateful, but the whole time she was just moving around, and her eyes would close and then they would open, and she would hold her head. And so something definitely wrong with her. She's got some sort of a malady, but she had been told that she was demon possessed, and that was just a sad thing to have to hear. Right outside the stoop was this little lady that was just as precious, reminded me of my grandma. And so we took a picture with her. She was 80-something years old, 83, I think. But we were actually walking here up to this particular location. We were going to the church building, ultimately was our goal. And so after we went to the church building, we actually left and went and prayed with that young lady. So they're a little bit out of order. But this is the church building that we were led to. I was just walking up to this building, and they were pointing at it and gawking over it. And I had the opportunity to walk around it and see from up the stairs. Remember the hospital stairs? I walked about halfway up and tried to take this picture. It is a little blurry, and I apologize for that. But I came to find out this is the mission.
Mm-hmm.
I was under the impression that we were going up there to that particular place, and we did. But I was shown real quick, this is the mission. I didn't know that. And so I was touched that they took opportunity to show us this first. And so going inside of this place, Brandon and I both kind of messed with wood a little bit, he more than I. He was like, would you look at this? It was amazing. So they've got all these poles standing up to hold up the second floor. They just started the second floor.
Yeah, and they didn't go to the hardware store. I mean, you notice these poles are, I think these are eucalyptus poles. They cut all of these and prop this, and they have to leave these up for several weeks to let that fully cure. They're concrete. 99.99% sure. They make all their concrete on site. They do that, mix that themselves. But yeah, all these poles, they've cut these, they've harvested and brought them up, and that's where those poles came from.
Yeah, so then we were able to go up and see the second floor. So they were working on the second floor here, and they were actually laying the brick and everything while we were there. And so we had time to sit and have a good conversation with this young man, Bartolome. He is the preacher that we'll continue to talk about here for a few minutes. And what Raphael is doing here is he is actually looking to see monies. He is trying to understand the monies that are involved in making this happen. And so we had a long conversation down on the first floor as it related just to the money. So just a quick shot looking outside. I'll show you this, what we were able to see. There's two different places here that are joined one with another. So this first spot here,
which is very common. That's normally how it works.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so what we've got running side by side, we've got what is the church building, and there's also a neighbor's house. And so these are things that are being erected, even as we speak, all the poles being erected. So we had the opportunity to see this new edifice, and I'm getting to the moment in time when I actually can tell you a little bit more. But this is the part of the church building. That other part was actually part of a neighbor's edifice. But we were able to go up those stairs, and that's the picture that we started with, in the very first, showing you where we were. But this is the building itself, and it's going to be 2 floors here very quickly when it's finished. But this is going to be their church building. The second floor is going to be the pastoral area where he and his family live. And that's going to mean something to you in a minute, so hold that thought. Here's Brandon up there inspecting, walking around, checking everything out. We are all up there talking with Bartolome. Bartolome is in charge of all this. Bartolome is an incredible young man. So here we are up on top, and here's the moment in time when I'm listening to all the translation, and I come to find out that this young man took out a personal loan of $51,000 to make this happen. When was the last time you took out a loan for $51,000 to build a church building or to, of your own personal money? I mean, that just touched me beyond anything else I could fathom. When I said, am I understanding you correctly? So that has to do with what we were doing on the first floor, talking about how far that $51,000 will go. And when he finishes this second floor and roofs it out, that'll be the end of the $51,000. And so he has spent his own money. And he was able to do that because he has a glass business. He installs windows. He makes glass shelving. And so he is a glass artist. This is an example on the street here about what that's an advertisement on his storefront. And this is his shop. This is his sign out front. This is Warwick Glass. He is well respected. He actually ran for mayor. And so think about how well connected you have to be in order to do something like run for mayor. Anything we needed at any time, he said, "Oh yeah, he'd make a call, and we get anything right."
Everybody knew him. It was pretty clear, even with the language barrier, he had a really good reputation in the town.
Absolutely,
very good reputation.
Absolutely knows everybody. This was actually, as we were leaving, we saw the building, we prayed with the young lady, and then we went to see his building, his office rather, and then we're going up the hill to their home, right? And evidently where they're holding church services now. And so when we were leaving, we ran into this festival, and there were dancing and food and all this stuff going on, and we couldn't even pass through. And then they started honking in the middle of a festival. And I'm like, stop. And so he gets out of the vehicle going to his influence, and he walks into the crowd of people, and he's talking and gesturing and everything.
They wouldn't move. I mean, everybody's telling him, everybody around him is telling him, just let's go around. Well, we saw there wasn't a way to go around, I don't think. But anyway, he didn't do that.
Yeah, he cleared the way.
Yeah.
And so they moved everything out of the way so that us and some other vehicles on the other side could get through. And so we were able to go and start our journey on up the mountain. And so as we start up, now right here's where we were just a minute ago. And look at the elevation already as we're going up the mountain, going to his house. The word is that him and his wife are going to serve us dinner.
Wari the elevation of Wari is 10,331 feet, I think.
Right.
Wari. And we're going up beyond that.
Yeah,
his place is a little higher up.
So we're taking this road up. There's a flat spot on top of the hill even before we get to his house. And I just thought it was really neat because there was a playground. There was kids running around.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on a dirt path with dogs and goats all over the place. And suddenly there's this wide open, beautiful place that has a park and people playing. And look how far up we are already. I mean, this is where we are going up the hill, as it were. So we got the car to the top of the mountain, and we finally found a place to park, and they're telling us, don't take that car down the driveway. Do not take that. So he backed it into the head of the driveway and just left it there, and we walked on down the hill. I put this in here just so you could get some idea of what it was to go up that hill. Brandon took this.
It's just a small portion of the ride up the hill. This is after we got past the festival in the street. I don't know if it was a marriage or a celebration ceremony or what. But.
Yes.
Yeah.
Technically, yes. Commercially, what they are is taxis, but this is his own personal mosquito. I've got it up here in a minute. We're going to see some information. So what do you do when you meet another car? That's what I was thinking the whole time. Because we're in a car, they're in a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's us behind. Slow down, slow down. Just a little trail is all it is, like 4 miles of just switchbacks all the way up this hill, going up to the very top of it, up to the mountain. Turkey, was that a turkey along the way?
Yeah, it's a turkey.
But it kind of gives you a feel for where we went and how we got there, doesn't it? It's a little bit different, you know. And we still hadn't arrived at the top yet. Here's these little individuals here, ladies and whatnot. They walk all the way up and all the way down this thing every single day to go sell their wares and to sell their...
When you see them like that in the colorful outfits, those are Quechua. 65% of the people in Wari speak Quechua. The other part speaks Spanish. Now in Lima, it's a different story. But up here, Quechua, so Bartolome speaks Quechua and Spanish.
And so we arrive at this particular spot. We're finally at the top of the hill. Y'all are like, are we there yet? I mean, I know you're feeling it. Are we there yet? We're finally at the top of the mountain. And this, I don't know any other way. Brandon and I looked at ourselves and we said, this is paradise.
Mm-hmm.
They've got their own flower garden. She's some sort of a florist locally. She actually prepares flowers and sells them to people like a florist. They have their own garden. They've got their own sheep. And this is actually his wife. You'll see her in a minute. But this is Helmet out there acting like he's a farmer trying to herd the sheep. This is a barn that they raise guinea pigs in. We'll show you that in a minute. But see, they got They got a beautiful view of the mountain. They've got their own garden. They're in a paradise. I mean, it is a beautiful plot of land, and it's a family piece of land. And so anyway, this is where we arrived, and we were just touched. We found out very soon that we were going to have to work for our food, and so I said, Brandon, can you gut some fish for me? And so Brandon jumped in there. He wanted to help, obviously, and so this is the equivalent of our trout.
They said it was a woman's job, but I did it anyway.
Yeah, they said it was a woman's job. We didn't know. That's a cultural thing, I guess. And so Laura was evidently unable to do it proficiently, and Brandon jumped in to help. And so here's the guinea pig pen. They eat guinea pig. And so what they do is, my understanding is for a family his size, they'll kill about 5 at a time to make one meal.
That's a traditional Quechua meal.
Yeah, guinea pig.
Guinea pig.
And so then obviously they've got their garden. She is cooking. She is cooking on an open flame. I mean, this ain't Mount Vernon. It was great. It was just wonderful. Everything was handmade and hand put together. And here's Juan visiting with the kids. They were dancing around. Here, he's 70. He's out there. He's having a good time. He's dancing with the kids, and they're singing nursery rhymes. We all fall down. They were having a great time. And so this is the reunion I was telling you about. They hadn't seen each other in so very long. So it was a great reunion. This is his mom?
This is Bartolome's mother's, my understanding, and she's 80 or 83, and she walks down the mountain and up the mountain every day into the city. What we rode up in the vehicle, she walks down every day.
Yeah, every day. About 4 miles on that road all the way to the bottom, and she walks it every single day.
And she's Quechua.
So anyway, this was a great reunion, and we all sat around outside while the fish were being prepared and had this incredible meal. I wish I had a little bit of picture of the meal, but this is, like I said, what we call trout, basically.
Trout, trucha, and concha, I believe, which is it's trout, and it's a type of Incan or Aztec type corn, and it tastes kind of like popcorn, but what they do is it's a dry, large kernel, almost looks like hominy, but they'll put it in a skillet and just toast it and salt it, and that was our meal. It was trout and that corn. It was delicious and wonderful.
And they did have some bread, so I told Brandon at one moment of clarity, I said, they served us loaves and fishes.
Yeah.
Just like Jesus. I mean, I thought, man, this just can't get any better. Anyway, this is Bartolome and one of his daughters. This is Brandon standing outside the guinea pig shed. He just realized he didn't have to eat guinea pig that night. He's extremely happy. I'm just kidding. Anyway, a lot of great pictures that we took along the way, and this is the church building. And so, as we showed you in the city, they're building a 2-story edifice where the church will be on the bottom and the home will be on top, and that's the same thing they've got here. This is a mud concrete that he has built. He built all by himself. The stairs going up to the second level were all hand cut with a chainsaw. Brandon said, "You see that?" I said, "What?" He said, "Those are chainsaw marks." He cut every one of these steps with a chainsaw.
So on the opposite side, or actually to the right, this right here you can't see it, are the steps that go up to this second story, which is on this side actually. And the steps are really steep, and the reason I was looking at them so hard is the boards are really thin and I'm really big. So I was about to step on. I was like, I don't break his steps, but it was really strong wood, but I could see those steps. And when we say handmade,
absolutely
handmade concrete, handmade boards, handmade everything. The doors on this building, I got to looking at the doors, and I asked Raphael to ask him where the doors came from. Did he make the doors? And he made the doors. He handmade the doors also. But everything was done by hand, and considering the location, it's unbelievable what he's accomplished.
So here's the entrance to the church building. On this side is where all of the fish cutting was going on, the dancing that you saw with Juan and the children. The kitchen area where we ate was over here to the right a little bit, so this is kind of an open area. And you walk in, and as you can see looking out the other side of that door, this is their church building. Dirt floors, plastic chairs, and they're fine with that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're absolutely solid to the core. And so immediately, Katia, she sat down with two of his girls, and she pulled up some Spanish hymns on her phone, and they're singing Spanish hymns here.
Yeah.
She's singing with the kids. And so this is prior to anything that we've got going on. This is his wife. We'll introduce you to here in just half a second, and then some of their members. And so this is just our entrance into coming to find this Church of Christ up on top of this mountain, as it were. Obviously, while we were there, they referred to this as kind of a gospel meeting event. This was a special event for them. This was on was this a Wednesday?
Yes,
yeah,
I believe it was. It was
Yeah.
Wednesday, yes.
So on this particular day, they didn't necessarily have a midweek study involved, but they led the singing. Bartolome, he led the singing, and I mean like 7, 8, 9 songs. They just sang and sang and sang. And I told him, I said, man, we're not going to have any time to preach, you know, because these people got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and walk back down the mountain again. So anyway, Brandon did a great job preaching for Proverbs
29.
29, and Helmet translated for him, and I spoke for a few minutes, and Matthew 16:24, I believe it was, and Raphael translated for me, and this is the song book. It's an outdoor edifice, and so everything was kind of wrinkled, you know, as it would be as you related to, you know, mildew and things of that nature. And the ladies that we got to take pictures with afterwards, these two pictures here, it would take an hour to explain each of these, because after we spoke, Bartolome got up, and with every ounce of energy, and I mean, he was in tears several times. And the point of it was that nobody had ever come up there to visit them. They were all alone.
Apparently, it's problematic that everybody stops at Lima.
That's the end of the
They
road.
can get people to Lima, but they can't get anyone past Lima.
Yeah, missionaries, I mean, that's it. People
Now-
come into the city, and that's it.
Now, the Pentecostals and the Catholics are there, but we're not.
And so anyway, they were touched. And this is Bartolome. This picture is him just absolutely crying out that he was so thankful that somebody took the time to come from a place like America and come up there and bring them communion trays, eat a meal with them, show Christian love. And I told him, I said, man, I wonder if this is what Paul felt like when he rolls into Thessalonica or Lystra or Derbe somewhere, and they hadn't seen him in a couple of years, you know. We were all in tears.
Chip and I both had a discussion. One of the things that I had a hard time wrapping my head around was the fact that someone wanted us to be there so badly. And that's, I don't know, people here love us, we love each other, but the fact that you could just tell that they were so glad someone was there to see them.
So when he got through talking, they introduced Juan. Well, Juan gets up, and he carries on for another 20, 30 minutes, and he's crying. He's expressing his love because originally he baptized Bartolome, and that's how this congregation was planted. And so there's a special relationship there. You know, Paul and Timothy, Paul and Silvanus, I mean, all these individuals that we read about, that's what they've got going on. Bartolome is his son in the faith. And so it's very, very, very emotional, the whole thing. And so as we're exiting, we're taking pictures of the little ladies that seem to be pleased to have their pictures taken with these big, tall American people. But this is the family. This is Bartolome. He's 43, as you asked a few minutes ago. He's been a Christian 15 years. He's been preaching 12. He went to the school over in, the Lima School of Preaching. Here's his wife's name and daughter's names and ages. And this is something that Helmet sent me. The Warri congregation is a new church work and cash department. It's located in the Andes Mountain area, 10 hours bus drive from Lima. They're always working for the Lord. In the nearest future, they will meet in a new church building nearby in town. So take just a minute and look at where we were and what we accomplished and the people that we meet. And this is what they're leaving. They're leaving paradise to go down into the city because the evangelism is there.
Because remember, we're on top of a mountain here. They're way down there in the city, and so his concern is getting to where the people are to evangelize.
So this man, these people, they're mountain people. They go up and down the mountain all the time, but the people in the city, as it were, not so much. They're not inclined to go up the hill to go to church services, right? They're not so inclined to be involved in that particular fashion. So this man took out a loan, $51,000 of his own money, and he started a congregation. He's building a building down in the city that these people will come to. They'll go down the mountain. That's no problem because they're used to doing that. But he's leaving paradise, as it were, to go down and evangelize the city of Warrior. And he spent his own money on that. I can't tell you how moved we were. I can't even understand the mentality because I've never been in that particular situation. But if ever there was a man that walked by faith, it's that man right there, Bartholomew. He's the picture of Hebrews chapter 11. Because he's like, God will supply. It's an amazing thing to watch. And so this is the experience that we had while we were up on top of the hill. And so at some point, we have to get ready to say goodbye. We didn't really want to, but it's getting late. We got to get back down that hill, and you can't see over the edge. We've got to leave. And so we had the opportunity. Yes, sir.
Just as a side note, I asked, we had to go down the mountain, so they get us down the mountain that night. Been a long day, just like every other day. We get down the mountain. It's dark. It's late. We've had church services. He comes back down the mountain with us. Me and Helman and Bartholomew. We walked down. It was an easy walk, or I couldn't have done it. But we walked.
It was like
down.
A straight shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a straight shot down. So we walked down. We get into town, and there was something else we had to do. Anyway, I asked Bartholomew. I got a translator and said, "Hey, do you have to go to work tomorrow?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "What time do you have to go to work?" And he gets up at, was it 3 or 4?
About 4,
I think. I thought he got up at 3 and his wife at 4. Anyway, about 4 o'clock every morning.
Kids have to get ready for school.
His girls have to walk down the mountain good ways every morning. It takes them, I think, a couple hours to get home in the evenings. But he's done all this and taken care of us and hosted us here, and he's still having to get up and go to work. Very, 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 very early risers. So anyway,
yeah, it was an incredible experience all the way around. And so anyway, we are on our way back home now. And this was we got up in the morning, and I told you the story about the little lady that said the coffee shop opens at 6. She said, "Says." She was actually saying yes. So there was no coffee. And they said, "Well, we got to go." The policeman says, "You cannot park there." And so we had to pack up and leave, and it was about 2 hours, give or take, until we got to this location. And they did not have coffee. They had like some Nescafe or something. I don't know what it was, but it was.
This was the best smile I could get out of him before we finally got him coffee, and we didn't get him coffee here. So
it wasn't coffee.
I was glad I was in the back.
It was not coffee. But along the way, we ran into this little lady that had a dwelling close by. And she's walking around with this lamb, and we thought, what in the world? Well, she was taking money from the tourists. She lets you hold the lamb for, a soul or 2 souls and have your picture made with the lamb. And the llamas, nobody was taking a picture with the llamas. They spit on you, So they were just walking around at random, and we saw her dwelling around the place. In this restaurant here is this little flower growing. This is evidently the state flower. It's I took that mainly from Mama, by the way, but
I think they're over here, aren't they?
Yeah, they're everywhere. Beautiful, beautiful flowers. And I love this picture that Brandon took because this looks like something off the A-Team. We're going to war or something. We're all lined up.
They'd all just had food. They were happy.
Yeah, we were fat and sassy. But anyway, here's a wreck that we ran into. This is one of the buses that takes you up and down the mountain, up and down the mountain. And what they do is they put the luggage on top. I mean, it's 4 or 5 feet up in the air, and they've got it all tied down with bungee cords and ropes and everything. And so they're top heavy. And so evidently, around in one of these corners, we had just rolled up on this, and they had just getting ready to pull the car back down on 4 wheels, and then the rollback left.
Yeah, they didn't tow it off. They
Yeah.
were working on it there, fixing it on the side of the road.
So anyway, that was a windy road. It was up a hill, downhill. That was kind of treacherous. But anyway, we got back home, and they talked the whole time. We want to show you Lima. We want to show you. They're very proud, as we would want to show somebody downtown Mount Pleasant, perhaps, or take them to Jefferson or something. They wanted to show us Lima. And so, tired as we were, 15 hours back to the house and the whole 9 yards, the next morning we get up, and first thing Juan does is he starts eating. He's got a guacamole the size of Rhode Island,
That thing was as big as my head.
Yeah, he is wearing it out. He eats like I don't know what. But anyway, these are just some pictures I took, and I'll just kind of buzz through them. But the things that they showed us, these buildings down on the square, this is where the president and the mayor, it's just a square, just like you would imagine in any downtown area. And the president's lodging is there. The mayor's lodging is there, and the courthouse is down there. The police are there, and evidently I was doing something wrong. I was infringing or something. I was being arrested. No, not really. I took this picture here of postcards because where do you see postcards? Postcards are like cursive writing. They're out of, and so my grandmother, she would have been tickled with that because she collected postcards. This was a meal that we had down in Lima while we were there. And the picture here with the balconies, evidently balconies are an insistence on wealth. And so the bigger and more incredibly beautiful the balcony is, the richer the family living inside. And so this is an image of wealth. This is the door going into the monastery. We went into this is.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it says watch your head. And so obviously I had trouble getting through that door. And this was going into the monastery. They took us into the monastery there where the Catholic Church is located. And there was actually worship going on here while we were in there. And we were told to be very quiet. And in there was several different locations. There was all the monastery stuff where the monks used to worship. This was built in the 1500s. And it was just incredible to see all of the artwork, the ceilings that were painted. This library as well was from the 1500s. They said you can't touch the books because they'll just crumble. They'll fall apart. But they've got Bibles, they've got science, they've got they've got everything just like a library would have. And then there's the catacombs. They have the catacombs down there too on the bottom under the church, oddly enough. And so all of these images of the bones that are spread all around are saints that have gone on. They're also people that donated to the church from the local city. And so some of them are actually privileged to be buried there. I took some of these pictures here because, again, just the incredible woodwork. This is all hand-carved on a big dome roof that's about 30 feet in the air. It's an amazing thing to see. And this one is done over on the right-hand side almost like a puzzle. Evidently something that the monks did in their spare time. But everything about this place was just incredible. It cost us something American like about, what would that have been? That would have been about $6 each to get in and take the tour. And Laura, being the tour guide, she took us through the whole thing and explained the whole 9 yards to us. This is a picture of the president's house lit up at night. And you see these gates? Those gates aren't normally there. They look like Preferred gates or something, but we didn't know it. But there was a riot about three blocks over. You know, they had a labor riot while we were there.
Which is unheard of over there. That never,
absolutely
never happens. So
we just thought, okay, we're not supposed to walk in there. But they were actually guarding the president and the mayor because of the riot going on. And so that was a little odd. And so then we left there. Brandon and other part of the family were across town at a mall that they wanted us to see. They're very proud of. That sits right on the Pacific Ocean. And I was like, okay, really neat. So here's the traffic that we had to deal with for an hour to go like 15 miles. The traffic is insane. They're all nudging in front of each other. The 4 lanes are really 8. You just don't know it. There's no laws. Everybody just drives the way they want to. But we finally had the opportunity to get to the mall. This is some pictures of a park that is close by. They call it Lover's Park. And what this is a sculpture of a man and a woman laying together. Brandon says, why would he go over there? I know what people kissing looks like. but we ended up, they're very proud of this area. This is a big thing, and all the walls are done in tile, and it's an incredible thing to see. But anyway, this restaurant up here, it sits out in the Pacific Ocean. We're up several hundred feet, looking down on the street in the area below, and they said only the rich people eat there. I was like, okay. So anyway, this is the picture that we took. This is a triangle that goes out over the top of the mall. So everybody goes there to get the pictures made. But that's the Pacific Ocean behind us. You can't really see, but just right down below you is the ocean. So, you know, they were just tickled and proud to show us all those things. And you know, they wanted us to experience Lima the way that they experienced it. So day 6, you know, was kind of you might call it a touristy day, as it were, but it was still a lot of fun to have the ability to go up there. So we had an incredible time. We spent a lot of time traveling. We spent a lot of time talking to people and investigating. This was kind of an exploratory mission because I've been hearing about this young man and his work for about 5 years now, and dating back into the Mount Vernon days. I was trying to get there, and one thing hindered me or another, and I just was not able to make it. And so thankfully, we finally had the opportunity to go, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to go back. This young man is a force to be reckoned with. He is a Paul. He is a Peter. He is, he is an incredible young evangelist, and he is really working hard as a beautiful family. And so in the next weeks, days, months, whatever, Brandon and I are going to be traveling around. We're going to be making phone calls, emails, talking to people, trying to tell them about this work. Because the first thing we want to do is we want to try to help this guy pay this loan off. I mean, he is working overtime now so that he can try to pay this loan off. And so his attention cannot be given fully to the proclamation of the gospel because of the hours he's having to work to try to keep these payments up.
He's really carrying way too much of the load by himself.
Absolutely.
Way too much.
And so what we need to do is try to encourage people along the way to have some sort of a finance opportunity coming his way. His dad, not his dad, Juan works over in Alabama, and there are some funds that are being funneled through the congregation's eldership there to try to help. And Raphael's son, an architect in Memphis, evidently does pretty well for himself. He has already vowed to help with that. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know that we need to mention all this stuff publicly, but I thought that was very touching for a young man early on in life, you know, raising a family, getting started in life, and his intention is to help. Kind of humbled me, so I'm interested in helping as well. So that's the initial needs. Plus, we need to try to plan at least 2 trips a year to go over there because these individuals, they've never seen any visitors. And so when we came there, the edification that they received, the edification that we received, it was paramount. That was the zenith of their entire year. I guarantee you. And I don't say that as an acclamation for us. It was all about them.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of things that we can help them with. You know, obviously we have to have money to operate, but there's things that we'll be able to do. You know, there's that building's under construction. That's part of the plan is to go back over there and help with aspects of that. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
And we don't know how soon we can get back over there, but if we could do like a March trip or something like that.
The goal for the first one is March and another one in September, hopefully. That's the goal.
What we want to do in March is try to help them build the Lord's table and build some new benches and build some furniture. And they've got that opportunity over there. He's got access to lumber and things of that nature. And, for somebody to travel from America, to travel all that way to help them build some pews, that's huge, man. And so we're planning on that. Plus, we have the intention of trying to find an eldership even locally, somewhere close by, instead of, dealing with an eldership that's way over in Alabama somewhere, which is fine. I got no problem with that. But hopefully one day, the Lord will bless Oak Grove with an eldership, and we could actually have the opportunity, if it's still, a great work, as I think, to have that work brought in-house, and our own elders could take care of such a work at that particular point. Amen. But I mean, that was the most soul stirring trip. Some of these guys they talk about, and I'm not smashing pumpkins here. I'm just saying some of these guys they travel to Memphis to go to lectureships, or they go to polishing the pulpit, or they go to some event for edification. It pales in comparison to something like this, an incredible mission work like that. I will never be the same person.
Yeah. Well, and there's just a tremendous. The culture is very different there, and I think there's a tremendous opportunity and window for soul winning that is being lost because it's not a fully cultivated field through the church. And helping him is going to help the church grow there, and I think there's a potential for great growth for the church.
His dream is to be a full-time preacher.
Yes.
And so we want to help him do that. Very moving. I appreciate y'all being here today and sharing your time with us. I know that it's probably nap time and you gave up a lot of things today to come and see this. If you want to tell your friends and neighbors, whatever, this is going to be on YouTube, on the Oak Grove channel, as early as tomorrow. So if you want to show somebody, I'll have it marked Peru Trip 2024 or something like that, to where they can zoom right into it and they can watch it for themselves. If there's an eldership, that over in Colorado somewhere, a family member in Arkansas, tell them to go watch the video and see what they think about the work and get in contact with Brandon or myself and see if we can get some more work going in that particular way. So anyway, we need to break for services, obviously, but thank y'all very much for being here. I love all y'all.